Picture yourself seated in a darkened room, your eyes glued to a flickering monitor. On the screen, a scene unfolds that seems more like a page from science fiction than classified military footage. A gleaming metallic orb, its surface reflecting the morning sun in a dance of light and shadow, glides silently and effortlessly alongside one of the world's most advanced spy planes. It neither rises nor falls, maintains a perfect, almost supernaturally smooth trajectory, and appears utterly indifferent to the laws of physics as we know them. The aircraft's crew, trained to spot and analyze every possible threat, can only watch in disbelief as this sphere matches their movements with uncanny precision, and then, just as mysteriously as it appeared, it vanishes from view. Now imagine being told that this isn't a scene from a blockbuster film, but real footage that was never intended for public eyes. This is not just any video, it's part of a secret archive, buried deep in government vaults, and only recently glimpsed by a handful of people outside the intelligence community. The implications are staggering. What secrets are hidden in plain sight? Why has the government spent decades and billions of dollars safeguarding these mysteries? And what might it mean for science, security, and our very place in the universe if such phenomena are real? Welcome to the story of the Mosul Orb, an incident that may represent one of the most compelling and perplexing encounters with unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAPs, in modern history. This is not just a tale about a single metallic sphere. It's a window into a 70-year struggle between secrecy and disclosure, skepticism and belief, and the unending human quest to understand the unknown. Let's journey back in time to place this enigma in context. The modern era of UFO investigation began in the late 1940s, amid the aftermath of World War II and the dawn of the atomic age. In 1947, the United States Air Force initiated Project Sign, its first official attempt to systematically investigate reports of unidentified flying objects. While many in the military suspected these sightings might be advanced Soviet technology, others wondered if something far stranger was at play. By the early 1950s, Project Sign had evolved into Project Blue Book, a sprawling endeavor that, over nearly 2 decades, cataloged more than 12,600 reports of mysterious objects in the sky. While most were eventually explained as weather balloons, aircraft, or natural phenomena, a stubborn core of more than 700 cases resisted all conventional explanation. These unsolved mysteries, flickering lights, impossible maneuvers, radar echoes without visible craft, haunted analysts and fueled public fascination. When Project Blue Book officially closed its doors in the late 1960s, the government declared the matter settled. Yet the mystery refused to die, and curiosity only grew. Fast forward nearly half a century to a clear April morning in the year 2016, high above the war-torn landscape of northern Iraq. An MQ-9 Reaper drone, one of the United States' most advanced unmanned surveillance platforms, captured something extraordinary on its high-resolution cameras. At precisely 9:47 Coordinated Universal Time, the drone recorded a shiny metallic sphere that seemed to defy explanation. This object, later dubbed the Mosul Orb, paced a military aircraft at a fixed altitude, maintaining a flawless, unwavering course. The footage, a mere 4 seconds in length, would soon become the focus of intense scrutiny within the Pentagon and the intelligence community. According to investigative filmmaker Jeremy Corbell, who helped bring this incident to public attention, this is an example of one of the UFOs that our military and intelligence community is looking at. What can we determine from it? This question is not just rhetorical. It echoes across the halls of Congress, reverberates within secretive Pentagon briefings, and now, for the first time, stirs debate among ordinary citizens. Why do these objects, often simple geometric shapes like spheres or cubes or even pyramids, which by all aeronautical logic should not fly, keep appearing in the most tightly controlled and sensitive airspace on the planet? Skepticism has always been the default stance of officialdom. For decades, sightings were dismissed as misidentifications, optical illusions, or even mass hysteria. But in the past few years, the winds have shifted. Momentum around UFOs, now officially rebranded by the government as UAPs, or Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena, has reached levels not seen since the heyday of flying saucer mania. New laws have standardized the reporting of sightings. Whistleblowers now enjoy legal protection when testifying to Congress. Public hearings, once unthinkable, have been held on Capitol Hill, with lawmakers demanding answers from military and intelligence officials. In response, a special Pentagon task force was created, later succeeded by the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO, charged with tracking every credible lead, analyzing every shred of evidence, and coordinating efforts across multiple branches of government. Yet for all this activity, the enigma only deepens. In the summer of 2021, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence released a landmark report analyzing 144 recent UAP incidents reported by military personnel. Only one case could be explained with confidence. The remaining 143 each remains a riddle, challenging both our scientific understanding and our technological assumptions. The Mosul Orb is but one entry in this growing catalog of mysteries, yet its clarity, context, and provenance, captured by a military drone in a conflict zone, observed by trained personnel, make it uniquely compelling. Behind the scenes, the stakes are rising. The United States has already poured approximately $15 billion into classified technology programs related to the investigation of UAPs. This is not mere curiosity. It is a recognition that unexplained phenomena in the skies above military operation zones could represent a profound threat to national security. As retired Major General John Ferrari warns, strategic gaps in airspace security require increased investment in monitoring and defense. John Venable, a senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation, adds, failures in threat response may prioritize optics over genuine security measures. In other words, the obsession with appearances and bureaucratic process must never override the urgent need to understand and counter potential threats. But the implications go far beyond military readiness. For decades, researchers and engineers have dreamed of technological breakthroughs inspired by UAP encounters, anti-gravity lift, trans-medium travel, the ability to move seamlessly between air, water, and even space, and materials with properties unknown to modern science. If even a fraction of these reports point to genuine, advanced technology, the economic consequences could be revolutionary. Imagine entire industries, aerospace, energy, transportation, even computing, transformed by insights gleaned from these mysterious objects. The ripple effects could dwarf those of the digital revolution or the discovery of electricity. Yet, at its heart, the main conflict is not about what these objects are. It is about the mounting struggle between government secrecy and the public's right to know. On one side are advocates of transparency, such as Jeremy Corbell and investigative journalist George Knapp, who insist that only open inquiry can dispel the fog of rumor and paranoia. As Knapp has stated, transparency and accountability are crucial for public understanding of UAP phenomena. On the other side are officials who warn that full disclosure could compromise sensitive operations, reveal classified capabilities, or even spark panic. Some believe these objects are advanced foreign drones, perhaps from adversaries like China or Russia, designed to probe vulnerabilities in American defenses. Others suspect natural phenomena, sensor glitches, or misidentifications, but a growing number, including some former Pentagon officials and respected scientists, argue that at least a handful of these encounters defy all conventional explanation. As Stanford immunologist Dr. Gary Nolan points out, we need to study the materials, not hide them. His call for scientific rigor echoes that of Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, former director of the AARO, who has emphasized the need for disciplined analysis and cautioned against leaping to premature conclusions. The debate is further complicated by the experiences of military pilots, radar operators, and intelligence analysts, professionals with years, sometimes decades, of technical training who have repeatedly encountered objects that outmaneuver, outpace, or simply ignore the best efforts of the world's most advanced sensors and aircraft. Their testimonies, once relegated to the fringes, are now being taken seriously at the highest levels. In May of 2022, Congress held its first public hearing on UAPs in over 50 years, with Corbell named as a key source for UAP footage. Again, in July of 2024, the House Oversight Committee convened to press for greater government transparency and to examine the implications of UAP phenomena for both security and science. What happens if the veil of secrecy is finally lifted? The future could swing in directions few dare to predict. Imagine a world in which incidents like the Mosul Orb are not only acknowledged, but openly analyzed. Not just by a select group of military insiders, but by teams of civilian scientists, engineers, and independent researchers around the globe. If all those classified videos, radar logs, and sensor recordings were published, it could spark a scientific revolution reminiscent of the breakthroughs that followed the discovery of radio waves or the unlocking of the atom. New physics might emerge, challenging our most basic assumptions about matter, energy, and the nature of space-time itself. Breakthroughs in propulsion could drastically reduce the cost and risk of space travel, opening the solar system, and perhaps even the stars, to human exploration. Advances in materials science inspired by UAP encounters could yield alloys, composites, or metamaterials with properties we can scarcely imagine today: self-healing structures, ultra-efficient energy storage, or invisible cloaking. But the risks are just as real. Some experts, such as Major General Ferrari, caution that unexplained objects in active conflict zones could expose vulnerabilities in national defense. If adversaries learn too much about what the United States can or cannot detect, it could shift the delicate balance of military power. Eric Gomez from the Cato Institute poses another warning. Chasing after non-threatening UAPs could actually degrade military readiness, distracting attention from more immediate and tangible dangers. And as Jeremy Corbell argues, secrecy itself can be corrosive. Cover-ups only fuel distrust and conspiracy theories, risking social unrest or a crisis of faith in institutions when the truth eventually leaks out. Society, meanwhile, may face massive philosophical and cultural shifts. If we were to learn that at least some UAPs represent unknown technology, perhaps even evidence of intelligence beyond our planet, how would we respond? History teaches that radical new knowledge reshapes culture, religion, and the economy. The Copernican revolution, the theory of evolution, the splitting of the atom. Each challenged the established order, provoked fierce debate, and ultimately transformed the world. Some researchers suggest that open sharing of UAP data could drive unprecedented international cooperation. Imagine countries pooling their scientific, technical, and financial resources to study and understand these phenomena. Organizations like the United Nations could help coordinate research, set standards for data sharing, and foster a spirit of global collaboration. On the flip side, secrecy could breed suspicion and rivalry, with nations racing to exploit any technological breakthroughs for their own advantage. The stakes, both for peace and for progress, could not be higher. But what does all of this mean for you, the viewer at home? The lesson is both simple and profound. Question official narratives, but always demand evidence. In an era of deepfakes, misinformation, and viral hoaxes, healthy skepticism is more valuable than ever. But so is curiosity, and the willingness to follow facts wherever they lead. Every time you see a mysterious headline about UFOs, government secrets, or unexplained phenomena, remember the decades-long push and pull between disclosure and silence. Stay curious, stay skeptical, but, above all, recognize that history is filled with moments when ordinary people demanded answers, and, over time, changed the course of science, policy, and even the global economy. The potential practical benefits are staggering. Technologies inspired by UAPs could lead to breakthroughs in clean energy, ultra-safe transportation, and entirely new industries. Imagine energy sources that are emission-free, compact, and orders of magnitude more efficient than today's batteries or engines. Picture vehicles that can traverse air, sea, and ground without the need for conventional fuel, opening remote regions to trade, exploration, and development. None of this innovation is possible without a culture of open inquiry. As Dr. Gary Nolan has said, we need to study the materials, not hide them. Every time the public pushes for transparency, it moves us a step closer to those breakthroughs. The societal impacts could be just as far-reaching. Greater transparency and scientific engagement could inspire a new generation of researchers, engineers, and thinkers eager to tackle the next great frontier. It could foster a renaissance of scientific literacy, as citizens demand to understand not just what is happening, but why and how. The economic opportunities are immense. Entire sectors could emerge around the analysis, replication, and application of UAP-derived technologies, creating jobs, wealth, and new centers of innovation. Yet there are challenges too. Not all disclosure is created equal. Some information, if released without context or explanation, could be misinterpreted, sparking fear or even panic. There are legitimate concerns about revealing too much to potential adversaries, or about undermining the credibility of science by promoting wild speculation. This is why experts like Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick and Dustin Slaughter emphasize the need for scientific rigor, persistence, and factual reporting. Persistence and factual reporting can overcome secrecy in UAP research, Slaughter notes, pointing to the slow but steady progress made by independent investigators, journalists, and citizen scientists over the years. Internationally, the implications are equally profound. If UAPs are truly a global phenomenon, then their study transcends borders and requires cooperation on an unprecedented scale. The UAP Registration Act, currently under consideration, proposes a formal process for managing UAP materials, ensuring that discoveries are shared responsibly and ethically. International policy forums, from the United Nations to specialized scientific bodies, are already beginning to discuss frameworks for joint research and data sharing. The potential for both collaboration and competition is immense, with sovereignty concerns and technological rivalry vying alongside hopes for collective progress. So, where do we stand today? As of 2024, whistleblowers are now protected by law when sharing UAP information with Congress, marking a pivotal shift in the culture of secrecy that has long surrounded the subject. For the first time in modern history, insiders with direct knowledge of UAP programs can step forward without risking their careers, livelihoods, or reputations. According to recent congressional testimony, this legal protection is already bearing fruit, with a growing number of former officials, pilots, and analysts coming forward to tell their stories. The House Oversight Committee's hearing in July of 2024 marks yet another milestone. Lawmakers pressed intelligence officials for details, demanded greater transparency, and called for the release of more footage, data, and analysis. The public, for its part, has responded with unprecedented interest. The conversation is no longer confined to fringe websites or late-night talk shows. It is now front and center in mainstream news, academic conferences, and even international diplomacy. What might the next few years hold? Several future scenarios are possible. Increased transparency could lead to the release of more detailed UAP data, fostering public trust and accelerating scientific inquiry. This, in turn, could drive international collaboration as countries recognize the shared stakes in understanding and managing these phenomena. Continued sightings without explanation could heighten national security concerns, prompting even greater investments in monitoring, surveillance, and defense. The economic impact of UAP disclosure could be transformative, with potential breakthroughs in aerospace, energy, and materials. Science unlocking new sources of growth and prosperity. Societal impacts could range from challenging existing worldviews to fostering increased scientific literacy and civic engagement. Or, the old habits of secrecy could persist, breeding suspicion and rivalry, fueling conspiracy theories, and slowing the pace of genuine discovery. The choice, to a great extent, lies with us, the citizens, scientists, policymakers, and curious minds who refuse to look away, who demand answers, and who believe that the search for truth is both a right and a responsibility. So what do you think? Will the truth about UAPs and incidents like the Mosul Orb set us free, ushering in a new era of scientific discovery, economic growth, and international cooperation? Or will it open a new chapter of global competition, secrecy, and uncertainty? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you are fascinated by the intersection of technology, economics, and the deepest mysteries of our universe, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. The next revelation may be closer than you think. And together,